tragedy on a very rapidly growing scale indeed. It was a couple of hours ago that reports were talking of perhaps 20 people killed, though even then it was clear that many other people have been injured. Only about half an hour ago, the Prime Minister was being quoted on television as saying that 180, 190 people were killed, and now we have these very latest reports in the last few minutes suggesting that it could be more than 300 who have died, and indeed beyond that others who are injured. It all happened at the end of a 3-day water festival, a famous traditional water festival. Certainly it's been described as quite the worst tragedy that's ever happened. Whether there have been others, I'm not sure, but absolutely nothing on this scale. Traditional boats taking part in races and displays. Those boat races had actually come to an end. At the climax, in that sense, of this 3-day festival had been reached, and events had moved on to a concert on an island in the river in Phnom Penh. And we don't know exactly how many people were on that island. Obviously it was very packed, that's clear from the description. Something caused people to panic. A vendor said that 10 people suddenly fell unconscious. There's one of the latest reports suggesting that people might have suddenly been electrocuted for some reason. First of all, it caused a panic and then a stampede. In the course of that stampede, a lot of people tried to cross a bridge. Many people fell off that bridge into the water. Other people were trampled underfoot.
The death toll is rising dramatically after a stampede in Phnom Penh. The Ministry of Information now says that 339 people were killed when panic broke out at an annual festival. It happened on a crowded bridge near the Royal Palace. Well, authorities are now investigating what triggered the stampede. Philip Bader, news editor of the Phnom Penh Post, joins us on the line with the details. What is the government saying at this point, sir?
Well, right now, Prime Minister Hun Sen has announced the current death toll at 339 people and roughly 329 injured. That death toll is expected to rise. But few details as to how the stampede, as they're calling it, actually happened. There's mixed reports.
What do we know at this point?
Well, the municipal police chief has said that the stampede likely occurred because of the suspension bridge is not actually near the Royal Palace. It's over the Tonle Sap-søen River. And so the swaying of the bridge with so many people on it created panic, and a stampede occurred. People got crushed, and that was the primary cause, with reports of people jumping off the bridge to try to escape the stampede.
We're looking at some pictures that we got earlier into CNN. It's pretty disturbing stuff. Do we know whether things have calmed down at this point?
Yes, they have. In the last hour or so, the streets have calmed and cleared. It's the water festival season, the last day of the water festival, and there were quite a lot more people in town than normal. Several million, at least 2 million as the estimates have been made. But right now the streets are quiet, and there have been no further news reports in terms of updating the death toll or the injuries. There is a committee meeting scheduled for tomorrow, a meeting of inquiry to try to get to the bottom of the details of what caused the stampede. And Prime Minister Hun Sen has announced a day of mourning for Wednesday. But beyond that, there's no further details at the moment.
You say that this is these were celebrations to mark the end of the rainy season. Have we ever seen anything like that which we've seen today happen before?
No. The most that you would see is maybe an elevated automobile accidents, various criminal activity, that sort of thing, but never anything on this scale. And in fact, in Hun Sen's remarks, he said that it's the worst tragedy since the Pol Pot regime. So there's never been anything like this kind of accident, this kind of tragedy during a water festival.
Well, this whole area was packed with thousands of people last night as the three-day water festival, the biggest festival in Cambodia, was reaching its finale. And people were crushing over this side of the bridge, trying to cross over to this small island on the other side where there are shops and amusements, as people from the other side were trying to come back as well. And in this confusion, a few people in the middle of the bridge fell unconscious, and that sparked panic. And suddenly everyone was stampeding, trying to get out of that small, as you can see, very narrow confined space where now all that's left are the clothes of those people who were crushed in there. The investigation has already started to try and establish exactly what happened, but normally one bridge is for going across and another bridge further down is for people to come back, but in the confusion that obviously wasn't followed. A lot of people have come down again this morning to see what happens, and just behind them there, that's where the stage was for the concert. The cameras were beaming pictures live around the country of that concert, and of course they then turned and were trained on the bridge, and so the whole unfolding disaster was shown on live television. Hun Sen, the Prime Minister, has launched the investigation straight away. He's declared Thursday a national day of mourning, and he's described this disaster as being the worst in Cambodia since the end of the Khmer Rouge era of Pol Pot more than 30 years ago.